At the amount of people that like fucking, I wasn't amazed, but I wanted to see it. People being, the guy's a war criminal, right? Somebody said that, right? And then somebody else goes, show a little respect. The guy's a veteran. He was on the ground fighting with the troops or something like that. It's like, you guys are both fucking morons. He was a pilot. He wasn't on the ground. Here's something for you right now, okay? For all of you, you know, and first of all, I don't even know what they're referring to, because he was a pilot in World War II. So war crimes, they talking about in Iraq and Kuwait? I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I know Saddam was our draft pick, and then he went fucking crazy like a goddamn NFL wide receiver. So we had to cut him, right? In a military way, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand how all of that shit works. But I'll tell you something right now. Read this book called Flags of Our Fathers. Jesus Christ. If you know, especially if you have a pilot's license. I just remember how fucking scared I was the first time I had to solo. Well, it was really the second one I had to do. The first one was like round trip, was like an hour. And it was straight up and straight back. I just followed this highway right up. And I literally just did it with my instructor and came back. I think it might have even been a half an hour. The second time, you had to put 3 hours on the Hobbs meter, which is basically the odometer of the fucking helicopter. And that is honestly the most scared I've ever been in my fucking life. And I was flying a helicopter on a sunny day. And just to give you an abridged version, I hope I picked the right book. At the same time, I read this book also about Iwo Jima. But I think, yeah, Flags of Our Fathers was the book. And they were basically, they had this mission. They interviewed George Herbert Walker Bush, and he was talking about how he was like a 19-year-old kid, and how, like, you're young, so you just have that thing that you just think you're not gonna die, and he said you just would always think, oh, the other guy's gonna get it, it's not gonna be me. And just the fact that, you know, and he flew all these missions, and these guys he'd be talking to, you come back and they didn't make it, and you had to fucking block that out. You know, they sit there talking about icing a field goal kicker. Think about this shit. The fucking 19 years old, he's going through this shit, right? So anyways, they have this mission. They got to take out some sort of radio, you know, control center of the Japanese on this island. And the island's shaped like an old school football stadium, like a horseshoe, like where Ohio State plays before they closed it off. And the crazy thing, which didn't make sense to me, it didn't make sense if it was radio that would be down lower, but whatever the fuck the target they had to hit was down low, right at, like, basically picture if you're flying into the horseshoe, right? So you're flying into the open end of the stadiums, and you want to go bomb the people right behind the fucking opposing touchdown, end zone, I should say. And what was crazy was the Japanese anti-aircraft guns were actually, you know, the way the island was set up, they were higher up than the altitude these guys had to fly in at. So they were actually shooting down at them. And anybody who's ever gotten into a fight at a football or a baseball stadium, you know, if you're fighting a guy a row behind you, how much more of an advantage that person has punching down. Now imagine this person shooting a goddamn gun at a fucking airplane. You know what I mean? So they basically were flying in there. Oh, I skipped one part of it where former President Bush was talking about how you would come back from a mission, you know, and he said you were so fucking in shock that you got out of the plane like you couldn't even talk. And he remembered one time getting out of his plane after being shot at and shit and seeing his other people getting shot out of the sky and making it back. He got out, and one of the higher-ups on the, you know, admiral or whatever came up to him. He said, how you doing, son? And he said he opened his mouth and no sound came out. And he said, and then the guy goes, all right, just go down to sick bay, son, you'll be fine. And he said, you'd go down to sick bay, and they give you like 2 or 3 fingers of fucking whiskey. and you just do a shot. And he said the funny thing was that it worked. You know, that's just like fucking old school shit. You're just in a plane that people were shooting at and you're scared shitless? Yeah, go downstairs and go take a belt of whiskey. And then tomorrow you can go do it again, you know? I mean, I don't know how the fuck they slept. You know, all I can compare it to was just flying on a sunny day by myself. And I just remember afterwards when I landed, and not even after I rolled down, because you roll down from 100% down to like 75%, just to, you know, you don't want to shut it off immediately because it fucks up the engine. I just remember the greatest sound I ever heard in my life was when I pulled the mixture and the engine shut off. And I was just pulling, you know, the brake to slow down the main rotor. And I just remember thinking, like, thank God I didn't kill myself, right? And that was just flying in sunny California. And so anyways, so he goes into on this mission, and they're taking ridiculous anti-aircraft fire because it was a really important strategic location. And he ends up getting hit, and he was flying with 2 other people, and he was losing control of it. And he tells the guys in the back to bail out. So when they bail out, he has to hang on and stay in the fucking thing so they have a chance. So they fucking bail out, and he's heading down towards the water, and somehow he regains control of it. Now, the little I know about aviation, I don't know how he did it. I don't know if the weight of them jumping out, I mean, probably was easily a couple 100 pounds, 300 pounds just left the back. I don't know if that gave him enough, and he was able to get over the island to the other side and then crash in the water over there. And all the pilots were warned that the Japanese hated pilots. They thought that they were cowards. I mean, you got to think, you know, aviation where it was. This was like a new thing. I mean, in World War II, they had like the biplanes and shit, but this new shit coming in and with the machine guns and bombing people and all that, they were considered fucking cowards. So I'm not even going to read the book. The shit that they do to the pilots is fucking nuts. Long story short, he crash lands over there. He sees the Japanese boat coming out to pick him up. He's in the water. He's 19. He's fucking crying. He's taking in, you know, seawater and shit. And he said, like a fucking movie, as this thing's coming out, like a periscope comes up and a American sub surfaces, takes out the Japanese boat and brings him onto the fucking boat, and he survives. His 2 buddies got caught and endured like ridiculous torture before they were killed. And Bush ends the story saying there's not a day goes by I don't think about those guys, like what I could have possibly done or fucking something like that, right? So now, had I not read that fucking book, I would have been another idiot weighing in on this fucking guy. So I don't know what they're talking about when they say that shit. All I know is that's one of the craziest fucking stories. You know, you guys heard me read advertising. I'm not a big fucking reader, but I was reading that book. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I gotta be honest, had I read that book before I got my pilot's license, I don't know if I would have done it. So I'd be thinking, because I'm one of those guys, I saw Jaws, not right when it came back. They brought it back. I remember they brought it back because Jaws 2 was coming out. And I want to say they brought it back, and I saw it. And I have never been able to be comfortable with the ocean after that. So I'm one of those fucking people, you know? Like, I'll freak myself out. My mind fucks with me in a pool, and I love swimming. But there is time, especially out in L.A., where they got all these fucking critters and reptiles and shit that I'm not fucking used to. And I always think, like, what if some fucking rattlesnake just came in, you know, and it's freaking out because, it, you know, it's trying to get from one, you know, it fell in and it's trying to get to the other. It's already, you know, dangerous as fuck. It's not going to be in a good mood, you know. It sees me come, you know, fucking swimming like an old man coming at it, and it doesn't want to die. Like it's going to bite me right in the top of my fucking Charlie Brown head. Anyways. So, I did, you know something, one thing I did get out of all of that, because I don't follow politics and shit, the one thing that they were complimenting him on, the fact that when they brought down the Berlin Wall, that he was smart enough not to rub it in people's, the Russians' faces or whatever, you know what I mean? Because we easily could have lost the whole thing. Who knows? You know, those are 2 big boys going at it, 2 heavyweights. especially now with the internet, and it's all like, hey, fuckhead, well, maybe next time. I literally watched, I fucking pulled up a video, right? I was trying to poach salmon tonight, right? I don't mean steal it. And how to poach salmon.